Today we've got Martin King, author of Hoolifan 1 and 2, and many other books. Um, so really, I'd like to take it back to the beginning, Martin.
Yeah,
Why did you start writing books about the hooligan culture?
I think it's been well documented. I was on holiday down in Pagham near Bognor with my brother. My cousin's got a caravan, which is unusual for a traveller to own a caravan. But anyway, we was down at my cousin's caravan, not on a gypsy site, but on a proper caravan site. No, she is a traveller. And we was down there for 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, getting bored. Me and my brother went into Bognor, looking for something to read, sit about reading. And I said, there's no real good football hooligan books about. I said, there's only Steaming in Colin Ward's that had come out about late 80s, early 90s, which was a good read.
Okay.
And he said, well, when you get home, why don't you start writing one? All the experiences you've had of going to Chelsea and growing up in the sort of 60s and 70s with all the ska and blue beat and reggae music and the skinhead, the suede head and the punk fashion. Why don't you write one? So that's when I started. I went and bought I started writing it freehand on a piece of A4 paper. Bought a computer, didn't know how to use it. One day sat there and done 3,000 words, never saved it and lost it. And phoning up everyone, how'd you get the words back? They said, well, you've lost it now, you ain't saved it. So that was my first introduction of writing a book and wanting to write a book. And after reading Steaming In and thought, and I read someone gave me one of Fatty Brimson's books once, which I thought was atrocious because he'd obviously never been there, never been anybody, regardless of what he claims. You know my feelings about him.
Yeah.
I know you've interviewed him and all, and well, there you go. But so that was what really got me into writing books. And then we sent off, I think I told you before, I met Martin Knight at a party. He'd done Alan Hudson, the ex-Chelsea players' books, and he'd done bits and pieces for magazines. And he said, they'll send me the manuscript for Hoolifan. So I sent it to him and he said, I love it. So he sort of tinkered about a bit. He'd done a little bit at the end of it, another couple of chapters of his experiences following Chelsea. And on his own admission, he was never a face at Chelsea. He was just like one of the on the fringes of it all. But nevertheless, he was a fellow Chelsea fan. So he knew that what I was telling the stories were true.
Yeah.
And then we sent it off to 20 publishers. And believe it or not, 18 of them wanted to do it. And Mainstream were the first ones to come up with a constructive offer, which was a good offer for a first-time author.
First go, yeah.
And since I said it's been translated into 26 languages now and sold over 300,000 copies. So it was, and then from then on, I thought, well, that's good. I'll do a follow-up. I've done Boy Story, Naughty 90s, all in the same sort of football vein, sort of trilogy. And then about 18 months ago, I've done Hoolifan 2, the follow-up to it. Just Martin was involved in other things, and so I done it on my own, and that's been a good success as well. But I've been well pleased with the reviews that's got and the sales. So that's basically how I got into writing about football.
Because you've not only done books about Chelsea, have you? You've helped.
Yeah, I've done Boats.
Fellow people.
Yeah, I've done Boats' book at Nottingham Forest, Gary Clark's book at Forest. I've done Gilly's book at Wolves. Helped Anis Abraham. I've done the Swansea Jacks one with Toosey. I've done quite a few, helped different people with different books. I helped Jasper with his book, he sent it to me 2 years ago and I read it and I thought, oh, this is good. And I said to him, you need to just tinker about a little bit with it, but basically it's a good read. And I said, men don't really talk about it. It's just coming out now about mental health in men, and men don't talk about it. Well, Jasper was really, really open about what he'd been through, and I thought, Jesus, this is a good book. Because it's something us blokes don't talk about. But he really went into depth about it, and it's quite sad what he was writing. I thought, it's not just about football, it's about a man going through an illness and still supporting his football team. And to me, still, that's probably one of the best, probably the best football read I've ever come across is Jasper's book. Loved it. And he's a nice fella.
I've heard that. Yeah, that you really rated it.
Oh, I do rate it. I mean, he's a lovely fella. He's been through the wars, but and he really opens up about mental health in men and his situation and how to get or try to help yourself get through it. And I think a lot of men are even suffering even more now with this lockdown and what's going on in the world with this virus. So, no, I think he really touched upon something we've probably all been through or all about to go through.
Yeah.
Or will go through sometime in our life. And he sort of nailed it. You know what I mean? And got a fair play to him. And he
Yeah.
phones me. You know, as you know, I've got lung cancer, incurable lung cancer, and he can be bothered with all these illness when he feels up to it, because he still has his bad days. He will phone me and ask me how I am, which I think is absolutely brilliant, because the man's going through his own sort of troubles, and yet he's got time to phone me up and check on me, which just says the measure of the man. You know what I mean? He's a lovely
Yeah.
fella, top
Yeah,
fella.
he phones me every now and then.
So
Obviously I met him through you. And I really like Jasper, got a lot of time for him.
yes, I yeah.
He's actually wrote a couple of articles for my website, which I really appreciated, because I like to get other people's point of view across.
Yeah, well, that's what it's all about. It's not all one-sided about what I write about Chelsea. I even get Chelsea supporters say to me, well, I was there and I didn't see that happen. But to me, it's my point of view, how I saw things. You know, you can get 100 people and 50 of them will see something different from the rest of the other 50.
Exactly. If you ask 10 people about an accident they saw, you'll get 10 different views.
Exactly. So it's the same with football and going at games and what they see and what they don't see. And then you get the people who make it up for a living, you know what I mean? Like the aforementioned bloke I just mentioned. Yeah. But, you know, it is what it is, you know what I mean? You get criticism. I'll get more people, you know, I'll get people say to me, I loved Hoolifan. It really, you know, the thing about my dad died on my 16th birthday. We were going to Leighton Orient the next day. And the day before I was 16, on my birthday, he died in hospital. I was holding his hand when he died. Now, I never really grieved about my dad dying. And not until I wrote Hoolifan, and I wrote about my dad, what a lovely man he was, and where we went everywhere, boxing, wrestling. He was a sports mad, my dad, cricket. His team was Fulham, mine was Chelsea.
Yeah.
I'll go to Chelsea 1 week with him. If I weren't going away to watch Chelsea, I'll go to Fulham with him. And so when he died, I was only 16, still a kid. You're a kid at 16.
Yeah, of course.
And you all of a sudden, you don't know how to grieve. You don't know whether to be men in them days, in the early 70s, 72 when he died. You weren't allowed to cry. You weren't allowed to show your emotions.
No.
But it was 1990, yeah, no, when did it come? 96. About 94, 95, I started writing it. And then one day I just burst into tears. I went in the toilet and I come out and my ex-wife said to me, "You've been crying?" I went, "Actually, yeah, I have, yeah." She said, "What about?" She was shocked. I said, "About my dad, how much he meant to me." And so an amount of people have come up to me and said, "I read your bit about your dad, and that really made me cry. That really brought it home to me, what your parents or what your dad means to you when he's your best mate and he goes to football with you, and you go all sporting events with him, and you go shopping with him for clothes. And now he was like the best mate with dad. So you know, it brought my feelings, brought out a lot of other people's feelings, just writing about it. So, and it's the same with Jasper's. His problems and illnesses has really opened the door to lots of people saying, "God, I'm like that, and I suffer with depression, and I have no one to talk to." So, you know, I think football books not just about the violence and the clothes and the music.
No, of course it's not.
About your own personal life, and I think that's a sign of a good book. You know, I've just been reading the Cockney Reds, Banana Bob's book, and he wrote about 10 pages about me. And I'll take my chemo tablets of the night and I'll go to bed, but I can't sleep with them, so I have to read. So I've got a Bristol City book on the go and a Cockney Reds book on the go, and I'm reading through Banana Bob's book, who's their top boy in the Cockney Reds, and I've known him for years. And he wrote some lovely stuff about me. And it was really funny as well. And I was like quite chuffed, you know. I'm going to contact him this week, Bob, and say thanks for the write-up in your book, because I didn't expect it, you know what I mean? So that transpires to other teams, that if you're all right with them and you behave yourself with them and show them respect, you'll get it back. And what he wrote about me, it goes beyond football. So I just think football books can offer a lot more than just we run them, they run us, we took their end. There's a lot of them out there like that. They don't go into where they grew up, where they went to school, any funny stories. And I think the more humour and general thing about the person writing, the author, I think goes more than just talking about rucks at football. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
That's the way I like to read football books anyway.
Yeah. Do you think that men's mental health is important then to talk about? Because apparently we've got it. Well, in young men, it's the highest suicide rate.
Yeah, of course. You know, even now, you know, as I said, in the 60s, 70s, men weren't allowed to cry. Men weren't allowed to show their emotions. Men weren't allowed to be ill. You had to be strong. You was the head of the family, like my dad was the head of the family.
Yeah.
So none. My brother never grieved. My brother, I never saw my brother cry for my dad. I never saw any of my cousins or anybody. My mum broke her heart because that was her only boyfriend. She grew up with him, and all of a sudden he was gone, age 55. Had kidney failure through lead poisoning and died. So my mum was crying every day. She missed him. And to the day she died, she wanted to be with him. But me and my brother, we didn't shed a tear. We went to the funeral, and there was like probably 300 people at my dad's funeral. It was well known around Fulham where he came from. So it was, I think it's really important that we show our feelings. Why not? You know, they're not being a sissy or, you know, any less of a person, any less of a man if you can show your emotions and talk about your problems. I've got mates now, they phone me up now. The floodgates have opened now, honestly. I'll get people phoning me up asking me how I am, and I'll turn it round and ask them how they are. You know what I mean? And they go, Martin, I phoned you up to see how you are, not how I am. But I think that's... but then they open up exactly how they feel. Oh, I'm getting pissed off with this lockdown. It's driving me mad. And then I've got to go and get the doctor, get some tablets. So the floodgates are open now for men to be really honest with themselves. If they have got a problem with depression or anxiety or any other sort of mental health issues, then talk about it. That's the easiest way to talk. I think so. Really, really important.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm glad it's changing quickly. It's changing as well by the looks of it and sounds of it.
Yeah, no, it is. It's getting easier to talk about, and like you said, it's not the with men you know, we're not supposed to show our emotions, are we?
No, but we are now, which is a real good thing. I think it's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I think things have changed. Right, I'm going back to the original interview.
Yeah.
Your dad took you to your first football match when you were 6 years old?
Yeah, 5 or 6, yeah.
Yeah, can you tell us a bit about that, mate?
He was, as I say, my dad was sports mad. He loved his favourite was Fulham and wrestling. He used to go wrestling, and he used to drag me along up the Croydon Fairfield or boxing, because my granddad was British champion, pro boxer, a travelling man, gypsy man as well. So we always had people fighting. We was always going to watch fights, bare knuckle fights, or boxing at York or Manor Place bars and all them sort of places. Yeah, Elephant Castle, Leisure Centre. So he was always taking me. And then one day he weren't working one Saturday, and he said, Chelsea's away up in Newcastle or Sunderland somewhere. I'll have a look at the fixtures. He said, Tottenham's got Tottenham double winning team. He said, they're playing Nottingham Forest. He said, you're going to see some, let's go, we'll see some proper football. Let's go, boy. Never called me Martin, nor did he in my family, always boy. I'm 65, and if any of my cousins or my brother phones me up, never says hello, Martin, how you doing, boy? I don't mean they know my name for 65 years. But anyway, my dad said, come on, boy, we'll go White Hart Lane. There was no Seven Sisters Underground station in them days, no Tottenham Hell near the ground. You have to go to Liverpool Street to White Hart Lane, or go to Manor, whatever it is. I'm a cab driver, I forgot the name of the place. Anyway, there was a station about 5 miles from White Hart Lane. Manor House. Was it Manor? Yeah, Manor House. So we had to walk from there, which took about 45 minutes, an hour. And my little legs was trying to keep up with me dad. And we went in the side bit where the players come out. And I remember it was 4-1. And all the way back, he said, how'd you enjoy it? So, brilliant. The following week, he took me to Fulham Sunderland with Johnny Haynes and Tony Macedo in goal against Sunderland, 1-0. Following week, Chelsea Man United, 66,000 there. And he said, the days of the wooden rattles. He said, I'm going to make you a wooden rattle. So he's down the shed making up this wooden rattle, what was the thing in the days in the early 60s. And he said, what colour do you want it? I said, there's only one team for me, that's Chelsea, blue and white. So he made me a blue and white rattle, a wooden rattle, painted it blue and white, painted Chelsea on it. And I was as pleased as punch. Took it to school. So from then on, Chelsea was my team. But all through my teenage life, I would go, if West Ham were playing Millwall or Man United was at Arsenal, I'd go and watch it. I'd go with a couple of mates who are football mad as well. We used to go to Crystal Palace with my Uncle Jack. I just loved the football. I'd go and watch anybody, you know what I mean? I'd go and watch my local team, Tooting and Mitcham, if they were playing Wycombe Wanderers or Hendon or Sutton or someone. And no, I've always been into me football and always loved me football. But that was the first time, and from that day my dad took me, I just loved my football. At 5 or 6, I just loved it, you know what I mean? And things have never changed. Though I'm getting bored with it now, of all this vast shit and all that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, That's a question I'll lead on to.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you could just adjust your camera a little bit.
Is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine, mate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, VAR. Obviously you don't like it, like a lot of other people.
No, I think look at the other night when Werner scored for Chelsea against the Scousers. He weren't offside. His fingertips or fingers was offside.
Yeah,
And I thought this new law was brought in that you what's that? Hang on a minute. Yeah, that's it. It was brought in that your arm or your hand couldn't be used to score a goal, so therefore it wouldn't be deemed as offside. So I don't see how he was offside. So I think VAR in some instances sort of enhances the game and makes correct decisions, but sometimes makes the ridiculous decisions, and people are scratching their head, and it takes so long sometimes.
I think that's the problem. It's when the ball hits the back of the net, you instinctively cheer, but then you have to wait, and the second cheer is never as good as the first time.
No, well, the players sort of amaze us. But the thing is, they're doing it in empty stadiums now. Now, you imagine when you've got a big game with a big crowd there, 60,000, 70,000 at Man United or whatever, and the goal's disallowed. What's that going to do? That's going to create problems, isn't it?
Exactly, and it's the time. You said as well, it's the time it takes, and it's the flow of the game.
Well, it stops the flow of the game, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it's going to create aggro, making someone scores a goal, they all run back the halfway line, they're all slapping one another and kissing one another, and all of a sudden it's been disallowed.
Yeah.
So, and this is in an empty stadium, and so you imagine when a full stadium's there or there's a crowd there.
Yeah, you're
going to have trouble. That's it.
Yeah, you are going to have a lot of trouble. I mean, as well, like you've just said about someone's arm is offside. I mean, I can't remember who the team was, but it was the other week that someone was offside because of their finger, where they were asking the ball because he was pointing where the ball.
Giroud, wasn't it? Giroud at Chelsea. Got the
and that's like, how can you be offside for pointing?
It's ridiculous. I mean, who makes it up? Who makes these rules up? You know what I mean? Just madness. So
it makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Yeah, it makes me wonder. Yeah. You know what I mean? They can't be football people.
No, probably very highly paid, but they don't know anything.
Yeah. That's it. Right.
Right. We'll speak a little bit about Chelsea because that's your team.
Yeah.
And we touched on this a little bit. The firm's name, Chelsea Headhunters. I've spoken to a lot of people, including yourself. No one seems to know where it came from.
Media. It was a media. You know, they wanted to give Chelsea a name. We didn't know. I mean, at Chelsea, you had the Shed End when I was a kid. That was where the main body of vocal support stood, or people who wanted to have a row stood. Then they moved up to the North Stand to fight visiting fans. Yeah. Then in the West Stand, when people sort of thought they were getting a bit older in their late teens, early 20s, thought they was a bit classier and was sitting in the West Stand. Then they moved over to the Gate 13 next to the away supporters in the new Lower East Stand. But nobody ever cooked. The shed was, if you stood in the shed, you was a shed boy. If you stood in the North Stand, you was a North Stand boy. But no one ever called one. I've never heard anyone call anyone a headhunter. You know, and I said that before. It was made up by the media because you had the ICF, you had the baby squad, you had the lead service crew, you had the Geordie Gremlins and Pumpy 657.
Yeah.
And all these names were cropping up. And so all of a sudden there's like in the mass, like the Sun and the Mirror and all the red tops, the Chelsea Headhunters. And we thought, who's this mob then? Never heard of them. Yeah. But no one ever says, I'm in it. But I did, as I told you before, I did make a lot of money on the back of the name Headhunters. Because when I had my stall over outside Fulham Broadway selling, my mate sold the fanzine, and I've done my books and T-shirts and loads of Headhunter baseball caps and T-shirts, and I took a lot of money against Valencia once, thousands and thousands of pounds. They bought everything with Headhunters on and my books. So I can't knock it. But no, we didn't make the name up, the people I knew from Chelsea. It was a media thing. But a lot of the teams jumped on the bandwagon. Everyone had a sort of a name then, didn't they, as I say.
Yeah, and a calling card.
And a calling, I've seen the Chelsea Headhunter ones and Pumpy Skull Patrol and all them sort of calling cards. And West Ham, you've been dealt with by the ICF and all that. But Yeah, they're calling cards in the name. It was a bit of a joke, really. It was the media. They even kept a league table of arrests, didn't they? If you remember that, back in the early 80s.
Yeah.
80s. Yeah, you know, Chelsea's had 200 arrested, West Ham's had 100 arrested. So the following week, West Ham think, oh, we've got to get above Chelsea in the hooligan table. But no, it was just mad. It was just the media, as they are. They love all that, and they love glory. They say that football fans who fight at football are not real football fans. Again, they're way off the target. They've just taken their support to another level. To me, they were the militant arm of the football club. They protected normal fans at away games. You come out the ground and you've got 200 geezers, say from Chelsea or Millwall, want to have a row. There's another 200 lagging on behind. I think, I follow these lot. I won't get bashed up on my way back to the station. That was basically what it was. You know what I mean? It wasn't, to me, a hooligan is someone who walks along the road, kicking wing mirrors off of cars, smashing telephone boxes up.
For absolutely no reason.
For no reason. But the football fans had a reason. They were fighting. Many times away you went up north, the old Bill weren't interested in looking at you. Newcastle, Sunderland, Liverpool, Everton. You know, you got to Liverpool, you've got all them coppers carrying them fucking great big sticks, whack you over the head. Yeah. You ask them what way the station is, they'll whack you over the fucking head with it. Yeah. You know, they're not interested in protecting you. No. They say you shouldn't come up here if you don't want any trouble.
No, as soon as they hear your accent, they're not interested, are they?
Of course, yeah. You go to places like Middlesbrough and all that. They're for the home team. Yeah, you come to London, they're allowed to get off at Euston, King's Cross, or wherever, wander around the tube system, turn up at Stamford Bridge, or go to Putney drinking. No old bill with them, but you go up north somewhere, you're wrapped up the minute you get out the station.
They jump on you for a police escort.
Exactly, and if you dare step off the pavement onto the road because someone's pushing you, they'll nick you. I've seen it. Honestly, it's just madness the way the police. I mean, even worse, you go abroad. I've seen it abroad. You go to Spain, you're getting hit round the head for nothing with a baton or truncheon over your nut, and for nothing. And but when the foreign fans come to London, they can march up and down the King's Road with flares going up in the air and all sorts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No old bill with them. But you go abroad, you're wrapped up and you're told where to go and you're pushed and shoved. And football fans, we're like second-class citizens, really, aren't we? Easy nicking for someone to make up.
Easy target.
Yeah, easy. Most definitely. Yeah, I thought we were hard done. But some of it's brought upon ourselves because you do get the idiots. You know, you go and watch. I've never been a big fan of following England. You know, never interested me. Okay. Never. I saw England win the World Cup '66. Watched it on a black and white telly with my dad and my brother. Mm-hmm. And then the '70 World Cup in Mexico when Peter Bonetti got the blame for getting knocked out the World Cup for his couple of mistakes. So I just sort of went off the ball with England games then after the '70 Mexico World Cup. So they never really interested me. And there was a lot of idiots followed England, weren't there, from the smaller teams. You know, they'd go there from whatever small club. That was their big day out. Of course,
it was their chance to get to Europe.
Yeah, that's it, because their team were never going to get to Europe.
Because their team was never ever going to get there.
No disrespect from people from York and Shrewsbury and Carlisle and Mansfield. They ain't never going to win or do anything. They're never going to get into the Champions League or the Europa Cup or UEFA Cup, whatever it was. So they're going to go with England and cause a bit of havoc and show the big boys like Arsenal, West Ham, Chelsea, Tottenham. We can do it as good as you.
They've got a firm, yeah.
Yeah, we got a firm, yeah. And some of them did have good firms, Shrewsbury and that.
Yeah, definitely.
I had brilliant firms, you know what I mean? Southampton used to take a few, and you know what I mean? So all these little smaller teams, Bournemouth would turn out at England games. So they play them, they support their country, that's brilliant. But for me, it weren't for me.
It weren't for you personally.
Nah, not at all. Didn't interest me. If they were playing now, I'd rather watch Celebrity Chef or something than watch an England game. You know what I mean? Don't interest me. Crap.
I'd like to talk a little bit about The Football Factory, the film. Because it was a book by Martin Knight. Am I correct?
No, John King.
By John King. You had a little bit to do with the original, didn't you?
The original one, John phoned me up one day and I took my daughter Courtney with me and we met over Fulham Broadway, the pub opposite the station. It used to be the White Hart, I think it was the White Hart. Yeah, I'm sure it was the White Hart. It's changed its name now, it's an Irish pub. And we met in there and Martin McClutchan was there, and Buster Bloodvessel, and there's some geezer from. Anyway, we started talking, and John said, "I want you to come on as an advisor."
Right.
So I said, "Yeah, I'll do that." And my daughter was there, and she said, "Oh, look, Dad, there's so-and-so, so-and-so." There was a lot of celebrities, like Sean Bean and all them were sort of there.
Okay, yeah.
They'd all been promised parts in this film. And this geezer saddled up to me and said, "Oh, John King introduced me to this bloke, forget who he was, what his name was." And he said, "Oh, I'm the director of the Football Factory." I said, "Oh, right, nice to meet you." The other geezer was there was Alan Niblo, but I'd heard all about him, that he was a bit of a wrong when it comes to parting with money. So,
Right.
and he looked a bit snidey. But this geezer saddled up to me and he said, "So what have you done then?" I said, "Well, I just done a few football books, Hoolifan, and at the time just finished Naughty 90s, working on the Boy Story." So he's like, "Oh, so," he said, "that's your credentials for working on a film?" I said, "Well, I've been around the scene for many a year."
Exactly.
So I think
Yeah.
I've done the apprenticeship. I said, "What have you done then?" He said, "Oh, well, I worked on Biker Grove, Casualty." I started laughing. I went,
Yeah.
"Fucking
Hang on a
Casualty?
minute. Yeah.
Fucking Biker Grove?
Hang
What,
on a minute.
you're doing the foot, and that's your credentials, is it, mate?"
That's a bit of a reach, isn't it? And he's
Yeah, and I looked
questioning
at him
you.
and laughed. My daughter Courtney laughed. She went, "Fucking
Yeah.
Biker Grove." Anyway, so he sort of went away a bit quick away from me, you know what I mean? And then they started filming him. A mate of mine, Mark, had a nightclub over. I think it was in Brentford over that way, or Ealing. No, it was over Ealing that way. And they started filming, and they booked this club for about a month. They'd done all this filming, and then I was meant to come in and be the technical director on it, on the original. And the money was good as well. I spoke to John and Martin, he was involved in it. And I said, "Yeah, I fancy that. That'll do me." You know what I mean? So, and then I got a call one day from Martin, and he said, "Oh, we've all been chucked off the film." I said, "Well, what's happened?" He said, "Well, John's got chucked off. They're not using John's script no more. Nick Love's come in and he's taken over. He's rewrote the script. He's got another geezer, Jacko from Millwall, doing your role."
Right.
Oh, fair enough. You know, I weren't banking on it. You know what I mean? It
No,
wasn't
of
the end of
course
the world.
not. No.
But so then it changed the Football Factory to how it is now. The original, we went. There was a theatre company in Brighton who done the original play, and it went round the country with this play. There was about 12 people in the play, and the actual original play was better than both films. The play was really good, and the first lot of filming apparently was really good as well. But Nick Love's one was a bit far-fetched, I thought, you know what I mean? You know, but it was all right. But John's original script was better than Nick Love's one. That's what I felt anyway. So, but yeah, I was intended or was meant to be working on the original, but got chucked off of it before it even started. So there you go.
Things happen like that, don't they?
Well, yeah.
You know, it's not, you know, it's just something that happens. But, you know, so that it's because when we watch these films, we don't know the history behind them.
No, but I don't think there's
could have been.
I don't think you can recreate a fight scene like in the Football Factory. You had a few people like Ickmott, Steve Icky was in it. Ickmott was in it from Chelsea, was well known, and there was a few other football faces, Ginger Bob from Millwall and all that. Was all in the fight scene at the end with loads of ex-rugby players apparently. But you can never recreate. My mate Terry Time Walk Tell was in the one where they threw the gas canister in the pub.
Okay,
Paul Ahern, a lot of boys from Chelsea were in the as extras in it. But there was no good fight scenes anyway. I don't think you can recreate it. And then what's that other film old Fatty Brimson done? Hot Dog
Green Street.
What was it called? Green Street.
No, he done Green Street one. And Top Dog.
I always call it Hot Dog. Top Dog. Dog. Anyway, I mean, they're just atrocious. They're not even good storylines. You know, I mean, Green Street was embarrassing. You know, you got Kaz, the inspector. He's 6'7", black geezer, dressed up in a ill-fitting chief inspectors, and an ambulance from about a Norman Wisdom 1950s film rolls in outside the station, while West Ham and Man United are supposedly fighting. I just thought it's more like a carry-on film than a football film. But no, I don't think no one's ever captured the real essence of
that was my next question. You don't think that not any film has ever captured it properly?
No.
It's hard to, isn't it? Because it's so spontaneous.
Of course, I mean, you know, as a kid, you watch war films. Was that really how it was at war? You watch cowboy films, was that really how cowboy?
No.
because we've never been there. We just take it for granted.
We do, yeah.
We've been there with a football film, so we know what's being put on the silver screen is shit. And the storylines are so weak and so... I mean, what was it in Green Street? You had that... Who was that little geezer, that American actor in it?
Elijah Wood.
Who? Elijah Wood.
Yeah.
Oh, you know.
Out of...
The Hobbit, wasn't he? It was in The Hobbit, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
He should have stayed in The Hobbit. I mean, one minute he's got an American accent, then he's got a Geordie accent, then he's got a Weymouth accent or a country accent, Bristol accent. His accent changed about 10 times in one scene. And how can you look at him and think, oh, I want to tangle with him?
No, it was poor casting to...
Poor casting and same as Hot Dog, that Fatty Brimson's film. You know, the bloke's going in a pub and someone's terrorising him and all that, he gets the football. It was just embarrassing. You know, I just thought, my son brought it up, said, watch this, Dad. And I thought, oh, no, leave her. And there's another one where Jason Mariner and Kaz and a few others are in, called Killer Bitch. Have you ever seen that?
No.
Oh,
no.
Mate, you got to get it. It's on. You get it in Asda's for about £1.
Oh, right, okay.
Honestly, it's the worst food. And the acting is terrible. It is the
and
worst
it's called
film.
Killer Bitch.
Killer Bitch. You will piss yourself laughing. It's the worst acting. Like, if there were awards for poxy acting, them two would get it because they were terrible. Absolute shite.
And that was Jason Mariner and...
Kaz Pennant was in it. And there was a few others in it, like a few other West Ham buds.
Okay, and they probably just did it for the...
Oh, Dave Courtney was in it as well. Killer Bitch. That
rings a bell.
Yeah.
I think it was Courtney's film, wasn't it?
It might have been. And then they done a follow-up to it. But you can buy both two together for £1 in Asda. So
yeah,
that's how good it is. But don't bother. It's shit. But no, that's what I think of the football thing. I don't think you're ever going to recreate a proper, you know, that they on about the firm and the original firm, and I thought that was laughable. That was shit. Gary Oldman and all that. I thought that was terrible.
You didn't rate that?
Nah, rubbish.
Okay, that's the first time I've ever heard anyone say that.
Well, obviously, people were never on the fucking front line who watched that and say that was good because that was that. I mean, they got suits on, and when they all meet at that hotel. They're going to watch an England game or something, and then you got Gary Oldman coming in, and then just quickly back to the Football Factory. You know, the language they use to one another. The boys I go with and know from football and from other clubs. If you started talking to someone like that and being disrespectful, keep calling, oi, listen, cunt, jog on, cunt, listen, cunt.
Yeah.
You'd say, who the fuck are you talking to? You wouldn't have it. The same as when Gary Oldman's talking to the Brummie lot, and he was West Ham. There was a Millwall mob and a Brummie mob, little geezer with blonde hair. You know, they don't look like anybody I ever knew who was front of a top name in a mob. They look like divs, idiots.
Yeah.
And when he was talking to people, if 3 different firms met up planning to go to England, and they was all talking to one another like that would have kicked off within 30 seconds.
Of course, yeah.
The place would have got smashed to smithereens. Someone would have got really. But they all walked out, oh, I see you, or whatever they were shouting.
ICC.
ICC. Sounds like a cricket match, doesn't it? But that was rubbish. I just thought it was absolute garbage. And driving the car across the pitch when I was playing football. And I just thought, I couldn't watch. And the other one, ID, that's even worse.
You don't rate that either?
Nah, it's crap. Undercover Cop, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's supposed to be a true story. Apparently.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's supposed to be the real. The policeman or the CID fella that went in undercover. Yeah. I don't know what firm it was. That's supposed to be his memoirs.
It was Millwall, wasn't it? Didn't he do a book as well?
I think so. Yeah. No, but again, you got to think how much truth was actually in it.
None.
You know, none.
I'll be the film critic on that one. None.
Yeah, none.
Zilch, nada, nothing.
Yeah.
No rubbish. I don't think you can create another film like that, a football violence film. I think I don't think what was the one Kaz done with the geezers out of Rizzle kicks, young governors or some crap.
The governors.
What a load of shit that was. God dear.
That wasn't really. I don't call that a football film.
No, it wasn't. It was more about council estate and.
It was more football hooligans v hoodies.
Yeah.
If you ask me,
Yeah.
I just want to go back to what you said. It was quite an interesting, quite an interesting remark you said about when people call, I'll say, hooligans. They don't
Yeah.
really say they're proper football fans. And you said it's just the more extreme side.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit more about? Could you elaborate a little bit more about that?
Well, I
Because
just think
that's
it's
interesting.
no. I just think the word, as I've told you before, the word hooligan comes from about late 1800s, 1900s. There was a family called Hoolifan
That's yeah,
who lived round Peckham, Bermondsey that way, and they was forever in front of the judge, the beak in them days. They used to call him the judge,
right.
and he said about the Hooligans from where they Hooligans from where they come from, that you're disgusting. And then when other cases come up with the same sort of thing that hooligans were doing, it changed to you're like the hooligans. So that's where the
Right.
word hooligan come from. So to me, a hooligan is someone who gets pissed up, smashes a phone box, kicks the wing mirrors off the car, sprays a bus shelter
For no reason. Yeah.
that's a hooligan. Someone who goes to football and has a fight. I mean, the same as you got. If you get caught fighting at football, you got a chance of getting put away for 10 years, like two of our fellas.
Yeah.
One got
Yeah.
10 years, one got 6 years or something, and there wasn't even a punch thrown.
No.
It was conspiracy to cause a fray or something. They got nicked for.
Was that the documentary by?
Yeah, Donald McIntyre.
Yeah.
And like they didn't do nothing. There was no punches thrown. There was no. They didn't even get near it. It was basically Leicester playing Chelsea. Chelsea took a coach load up. Some went by car. Met at a pub. All went to the game. No trouble. A few little
Yeah.
skirmishes afterwards. And two of the boys got nicked. I think one got 10, one got 6, for basically doing fuck all. The same as when we played Cardiff 2010. There was a fucking row and a half going on, and the reason why a lot of us never got nicked, I'll say a lot of us, including my son was 15 at the time, it's because the man who was standing next to me, when there was a little fracas going on, that's how I'll put it, he got bit in the arm by a police dog, and his bicep was actually ripped out. Imagine that. The dog bit his muscle of his arm out. He nearly died. He fainted, and the old bill would not call an ambulance. There was a woman that come out of an house, saw him, called an ambulance, and it came. But the row there was people, and the row carried. I stayed with my mate who got bit by the police dog, and the rest of them went up onto the New Kings Road. And there was people there who were walking past, not involved with the row, but known to our police. They got put away for 3 years for being associated with people who
just for being there.
Just for being there, they got 3 years.
Time, yeah.
Yeah, on association. They said, well, one of them who I know very well was walking back to pick his motor up because he was parked behind where the fighting was. The police caught him on camera, come round and kicked his door in, and he got 3 years. And he was coming back. He was on the phone to his missus, said, oh, I'm just waiting for this fight to die down. I'll get in the car, I'll be home in an hour. And they took his phone away and said, well, you was planning
conspiracy.
Yeah, you were planning violence. He said, no, I was talking to my wife. I was telling her, and they wouldn't have it.
No,
to me, that's ridiculous. That's fucking ridiculous.
Was it right that day that they let both sets of hands out at the same time?
And I'll tell you what started, and this is the truth. What started it? I know a lot of the Cardiff boys. A lot of their main lads I know as well.
Yeah.
They knew where we was. Not that I would get involved with the people who I know. I won't name them on the thing, but I know them really well.
Of course not. No.
Right. They knew where we was. We had 3 different mobs out that day, Chelsea, because we've always had a thing with Cardiff. But the lot I know from Cardiff, they kept saying to us, we got 200 in Victoria, we got 300 at the ground, we got another 200 at Putney, massive big Chelsea mobs, everyone come out. And they're phoning up people I'm with saying, oh, we're at Shepherd's Bush. Well, what are you doing at Shepherd's Bush? We don't drink at Shepherd's Bush. The ground's at Stamford Bridge. Oh, we can't get to you. I said, well, there's 200 of us here. Go to Putney or tell us where you're going, and I'm sure all the boys will find you. Anyway, they never turned up. About half hour before kick-off, all our youth are out on the road. They come out of Fulham Broadway, probably 200 of them. And I knew that one of the boys at the front, he's a prick from Cardiff. He wrote a book, he's an idiot from Cardiff. Mouthing off the head cage fighters until he looked behind him and saw Chelsea had about 500 geezers behind him. He shit himself. I was with my blind mate, Jerry. But after the game, we came out. We were walking back to the station to go back to Victoria for a drink. And this geezer come along and spat in my blind mate's face
Oh,
and said, "You Chelsea cunt." So my son knocked this geezer out. He's 15, my son was boxing at the time. He knocked this fella Spark out.
So he knew how to throw a punch.
God, did he hit me? This geezer must have been out for a fortnight.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he jumped over and they would not go near my Rory. He was standing there trading with them. So we all jumped in and backed him up. And that's when my mate Mick got bit by the police dog. But what I was going to say, when he got his solicitor for the CCTV, which was on us all for having a tear up, the police said the CCTV camera wasn't working. So that way he couldn't prove that the police dog bit him.
Oh, that was convenient.
But all the others, that was us lot, about 50 of us lot, all the others who went up the New Kings Road and were fighting and just walking past, and no doubt they would have got involved if it had come on top. Yeah. But actually not doing anything, they got arrested for it. So, and then the press would, they was having a field day. There was helicopters up, these hooligans. Now, back to your original question, to me, they're not hooligans. They are Chelsea supporters who, one, are defending themselves, and two, why shouldn't they defend themselves if people are spitting at them? But they let us all out. That was a setup. The old Bill been wanting that.
That's what I think.
Yeah. Donkey's years.
Yeah.
Even like one of our main old Bill, come up to me about 2 or 3 games afterwards. I was on the stall signing some books, and he said, "You had a lucky escape there, Mr. King." I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "I weren't doing nothing." He said, "Really? Yeah. Let me just tell you, you and your Rory had a lucky escape." I said, "Yeah, right, whatever." And that was it. Yeah. And we left it at that. Never spoke about it since. But to me, they're not hooligans. They are just taking their support, defending their territory. It's tribal, isn't it? They're defending their territory, and that's the way it is. You know what I mean? No different. So
yeah. And it's not all about fighting and violence, is it?
No.
You know, to me, people that are in football firms are so passionate about their club.
Of course, yeah,
100%. Because you hear this crap about, they don't even go to the game. They're not bothered.
No, that's true. But most of them, they're season ticket holders. They go all around Europe. They go to Azerbaijan or wherever Chelsea's playing in the Champions League. Yeah. You can't tell me that ain't a football supporter. Why would you go to Azerbaijan or Istanbul to watch football?
That's a passionate supporter.
Well, exactly. And they just take their passion to another level. And you'll never, ever stamp it out. You know, there was about 20 years ago, the head of the football intelligence in London said, "That's it. We clamped down on everybody. You're never going to get any more football violence." And we all laughed. Because when someone comes through, once someone dies or don't go no more, someone else is there to take their place. And there's the spur of the moment fans who just think, "Oh, I'll get him." But, you know, coming out the ground, you got all the shirts and the scarfers. They think, "Oh, I'll have a bit of that row going on." And they see me. And so you're never going to stop it. It's a man thing, isn't it? And women do get involved sometimes. But basically, it's a man thing. They blame it on drink. You could have a 2 o'clock in the morning kickoff, 3 o'clock in the morning kickoff, and you'd still get fights because it's a passionate sport. Isn't
That's just the way it is.
The audience wants, and it's like I've always liked it to a boxing match. You've got the 2 boxers and the referee. The 2 boxers are there to fight one another, not fight the crowd or the referee.
No.
So people who fight at football know who they're going to fight with, not innocent bystanders. But some teams do not adhere to them rules. There's 2 teams who do not adhere to them rules, and that is disgraceful. And I've told you who they are before. I think that's scum. But there you go. But to me, they're not hooligans, people who fight at football. They're just someone taking their support to another level.
Okay, that's about it today, Martin.
That's lovely, mate. Cheers, Matt.
It's been really great to talk to you.
And you.
So that's been Martin King, author of Hoolifan 1 and 2 and many other books. And there'll be more videos coming from Southern Casual soon.
Good luck. Cheers, mate.